The City of Neenah is pleased to provide video recordings of City Council meetings. Neenah residents can get information about City Council meetings, City Committee meetings, meeting agendas, and other documents from the City website, www.neenahgov.org. Neenah residents can express their opinions about city issues by contacting the mayor's office, contacting their city alderman, or completing the electronic feedback form on the city website. All public portions of the meetings are recorded in entirety and are not edited.
Good evening. I'd like to call to order the City of Neenah Common Council meeting for Wednesday, August 21st, 2024. The clerk will call the roll. Please indicate your presence on your roll call device.
Alderman Boyette.
Here.
Erickson.
Here.
Hillstrom.
Here.
Ellis.
Here.
Weber is excused. Paul Now.
Here.
Steiner is excused. Lendrum.
Here.
Borchert.
Here's your note. Our things don't work.
Yeah, these problematic.
It's probably because I didn't start the meeting. Does it work now?
Yep. Alderman Erickson will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There are no appointments this evening, so the item 3 on the agenda is approval of council proceedings. Is there any objection to unanimous consent of approval of the Committee of the Whole minutes of August 7th, 2024, and the approval of the council minutes and proceedings of August 7th, 2024? Is there any objection to unanimous consent? Seeing none, those minutes and proceedings are approved. The next item on the agenda is the public forum. This is the opportunity for anyone from the public who would like to speak before the council to come forward. You have the opportunity to address the council for 5 minutes on any topic that you would like to speak on. We just ask that if you would like to come and speak, you give your name and residential address. Is there anyone who would like to speak in the public forum?
Donald Bickham. I live at 113 North John Street, and I've been here before about train whistles. Although recently it seems like they are more muffled, so I don't know if something actually has been done. But at 2, 3, 4 a.m., it's a little annoying when they're many seconds tooting. I understand it's a federal guideline that they have to do that, but you know, wonk wonk is fine, not wonk. You know, I'm pretty sure that most people at 2 to 4 a.m. are trying to sleep. Now, I'm not sure what has happened recently, but they do seem more muffled, so I don't know if that's something that the railroad did or if something was done here at City Council since the last time I came to speak about that. Anyway, and one other comment I have, being a pedestrian walking on sidewalks, those nice Neenah Foundry steel plates with the little bumps on them are a real challenge for wheeled devices. just a comment. I don't know if there's a way to change them or have a groove, because when you're walking with a walker, as I sometimes need to do, it is difficult to get over those. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak during the public forum?
Hello, my name is Deb Laniker, and I am at 631 Winnebago Heights. I'm the treasurer of the Fox Cities Housing Coalition. Our 40 members represent many agencies who work daily with people who have housing insecurities, social service agencies, housing authorities, school districts, churches, veterans groups. And I am excited that Neenah has hired a housing consultant. I don't know if there's going to be any kind of public listening or input sessions, so I thought I'd throw my 2 cents in now. 4 weeks ago, on July 24th, the coalition members and many others conducted the Housing and Urban Development mandated point-in-time summer count of people who are living in places not meant for human habitation. The winter point-in-time count happens in January. Starting at 11 p.m., there was about 10 teams that spread out from Neenah to Kaukauna and spent hours searching under parks, under bridges, parking ramps, parking lots. This year, the Fox Cities point-in-time count was 148 people, which is twice as many as there were the previous July. And that number included 8 families with 23 kids under 18. I was on one of the teams that searched in the Neenah and Menasha area. We found people living in their cars, in the Walmart parking lot, and one in a parking ramp. Now, 148 people may not sound like a lot, but that population uses a disproportionately large amount of resources of the police and medical providers. So I just wanted to advocate, while we have an opportunity to do something, to advocate for more workforce housing. The homeless is one issue with a lot of problems, but workers have a hard time finding a decent place to live. My hairdresser and the phlebotomist who recently took blood from me are making good money, but they're still living with their mom and dad because they can't afford to move out. The Menasha City Council just approved raising Bonta School and financially supporting a developer to put in, I think, 16 homes. But they're going to be two-story, 2,000 square feet, selling for about $400,000. They're going to look like a sore thumb on the island, so I don't know who's going to buy them. Anyway, I just want to encourage our council to be a governing body for all the residents of Neenah and do something to help our hardworking families. Thank you.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is Mayor Council consideration of public forum issues. Alderman Paulno.
Thank you, Mayor. I actually had a to follow up on. I was going to talk to, a good dovetail, I was going to talk to Director Hayes to see where that study, the Stantec study was at, because there was talk of a housing committee in that proposal that would be put together as part of a working group, I guess. And they had indicated in there either maybe members of the council, private members, persons of interest in that. I was wondering how far along are you in that process?
I was just looking in my calendar. I think we have a kickoff meeting in it with the consultant next week. I don't sure what that date is. It's within the next, I believe it's next week. So at that point, we'll start to figure out what the plan is moving forward.
And then that housing committee they referenced, just throw my hat in the ring. I'd volunteer if you need help on that.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to comment? In response to the first speaker, Mr. Bickham, I did contact the railroad in the past, but I haven't recently, so it does continue to be an issue, I think, but we address it as we get complaints for it, and it is in many ways out of our hands. But I appreciate you coming in and talking about it again. Thanks. The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. This is for approval of temporary extension of licensed premise for Grainworks Old and New for allocated Bourbon Day to be held September 7th. Approval of temporary extension of licensed premise for Lion's Tail Brewing for Oktoberfest 2024 on September 20th, and approval of temporary extension of licensed premise for Firelight for Saving Paws fundraiser to be held September 14th. Is there any objection to unanimous consent of those items? Seeing none, those items are approved. The next item on the agenda, reports of standing committees. The Special Public Services and Safety Committee meeting, those items were already discussed and acted on under the consent agenda. The regular Public Services and Safety Committee meeting of August 13th was canceled, so there is no report. The regular Finance and Personnel Committee meeting of August 12th was also canceled, so there is no report. The Plan Commission meeting of August 13th was also canceled, so there is no report. The next item is the Board of Public Works meeting of August 15th. Vice Chairman Hillstrom.
Thank you, Mayor. The minutes from this meeting can be found on the city website, and we do continue to meet. So we have 8 information-only items this evening, so hang in there. Item A, the board approved change order number 3, contract 3-24, utility and street construction, Bayview Road, Quarry Lane, and Reed Street for 2-inch mat overlay in Freedom Meadows subdivision in the amount of $77,511.44. Item B, the board approved pay request number 5, contract 1-24, sanitary and storm sewer, water main, and street construction on Belmont Avenue, Belmont Court, Cedar Street, and Stevens Street to David Tenner Corporation in the amount of $223,674.68. Item C, the board approved pay request number 4, contract 2-24, sanitary and storm sewer, water main, and street construction on East Doty Avenue to Krujek Construction in the amount of $275,497.98. Item D, the board approved pay request number 1, contract 5-24, sanitary and storm sewer, water main, and street construction on North Street to David Tenner Corporation in the amount of $112,275.27. Item E, the board approved pay request number 2, contract 5-24, sanitary and storm sewer, water main, and street construction on North Street to David Tenner Corporation, the amount of $138,351.35. Item F, the board approved pay request number 2, contract 7-24, concrete pavement, sidewalk repair, and new sidewalk to Jim Fisher Incorporated in the amount of $84,272.22. The board recommended to the Waterworks Commission award contract 3-24W, removal and disposal of lime sludge, the Kartetcher Brothers LLC of Waupun, Wisconsin, the amount of $396,164.50. And the last item this evening, the board approved pay request number 7, contract 2-23W, West Side Booster Station Building Construction to RJM Construction LLC in the amount of $25,484.95. And that concludes my report.
Thank you for your report. Alderman Paulno.
Yes, I just would like to comment. I want to thank Alderman Lee Hillstrom for probably the most thankless job in council since I've been on council, reading out the Board of Public Works. He does it in an excellent manner, and he never gets credit for it. So I just wanted to give him that a boy.
And give that man a bottle of water. Council President Borchert?
I assure you this isn't because I don't like listening to Lee, but I am wondering if this is a consent agenda item. I know we've had these before, and again, nothing against Lee's voice, but I'm wondering, how is this different than any other informational items that we have, that we take care of things? And I don't know if it's a motion or it's just a preference when we put the agenda together. Again, I'm not trying to suppress any information that isn't already known. I'm just looking at efficiencies. So I don't know if there's any objection or anything to putting those into the consent agenda. And the consent agenda can be read by the chair if necessary, and things can be pulled out of the consent agenda, but there's no action on these items at all. So that was my 2 cents. I'm not sure who has the powers to be, if they would choose to do that.
Are you preferring that I read?
Oh, well, no, and again, I think a chair's, has, just like you have, it's in title can be read versus just all of those out there.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
Alderman Ellis.
Thank you, because I don't have my phone right now, so I have to raise my hand. And I agree with you 100% on that, Brian. And when back in the 80s, and I hate to sound like the history teacher here, unless either committee had something that the council had to vote on, it was consent, which meant it was not read out. The only time that it would come to council back in the 80s and the 90s is when we had to vote on it that night to pass whatever that was. So that's an FYI.
Thanks for that. And the reason that I actually started reading out the consent agenda of the events was because people were asking, what's on that? When are those events? So that's the only reason that started taking place, but I can see the point, and that would really spare Alderman over there from having to read a very lengthy report. So thank you, Alderman Hillstrom.
Would that be, again, I think it's a preferential, Mayor, with your decision, because they're putting the agenda together with the clerk. So I don't think it needs a motion or anything like that at all. If you choose not to, your discretion, just.
Yeah, we'll take it under
Okay.
consideration for the next time. Thank you.
Yes.
Not that we don't appreciate it, Alderman Hillstrom.
We take care of them over here, don't worry.
The next item on the agenda, reports from neighborhood groups, report from the Business Improvement District Board. Alderman Ellis.
Thank you, Mayor. And those minutes can be found on our website. We're just proceeding through everything. We're going to get into the budget next month for that. We are still looking at alternatives for lighting and landscaping design for Wisconsin Avenue, as well as for the improvement of the lot behind Westcore, the alley area. So we're working on that. Everything else is going very well. Our retention and creation of more business coming downtown is coming in, and they have a flurry of events coming up for the fall, and I invite you all to go to F&I's website or the cities. They'll all be located there. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you for your report. The Library Board, Alderman Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor. The Neenah Public Library Board of Trustees met today at 4 p.m. And as always, I have good news to report. In July, the programming was up 63% versus last year at this time. Customer count was up 27%, and circulation is up 15% from last year. The last youth program is tomorrow, and if you have kids, you might want to go and participate with the DIY school supply program, where they make fun things out of school supplies. And I'd like to report on their repair cafe. I reported that out about a month ago, that they were planning on having this. And this was a highly successful event. They had 110 people lined up at the door for this. And I'd like to read this from the board packet. Our first Repair Cafe in partnership with the Repair Cafe Fox Cities was a huge hit with over 100 people in attendance. We did not expect quite such a crowd when we opened, and we quickly had to adjust our method for managing attendees. The items that they had brought in include computers, vacuums, sewing machines, toasters, jewelry, watches, missing buttons, hems, lamps, and a pedal tractor. There was even a toaster from 1915 that still worked. It just had a broken spring. So they plan to do this quarterly. The next Repair Cafe will be in November, and one of the people on the board volunteered at this event, and he said he had such a wonderful day helping out people fix things. So it was a huge, huge hit. So that's it for my report. I encourage you to visit the library's website and always check out some books. Thank you.
Thank you for your report. That sounds like a fantastic event. The next item, Neenah Arts Council. Alderman Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor. The Neenah Arts Council met on August 14th, and for our meeting, we visited the Potter and Clay on at 833 East Cecil Street. This is the former Pansies location. They offer pottery classes, and they also have a garden in the back, and there's a store there. It's a very, very charming place. If you have a chance to visit, I encourage you to do so. I wish them a lot of success, and we had a great meeting at Potter and Clay. Our next meeting will be held at the Neenah Menasha YMCA, and we will be touring the Arts and Humanities Department, which I am part of. One other thing I want to mention, which I need to hand out to you tonight, is my son is going to be participating in a pop-up art show, and this is sponsored by Future Neenah. And the title of the show is Chasing Stars and Faces in Art, and that is September 17th through the 18th from 6 to 8 p.m. And there will be a variety. He has over 40 paintings that will be on display, and he will be there as well explaining the paintings, and I encourage you to go. And if you go on Wednesday night, you can do it before the council meeting, and it'll be a great time. So thank you.
Thank you for your report. The next item is the Landmarks Commission. Alderman Weber is excused tonight, so we will catch up with that at the next point. Did you have a comment?
Yeah, I just had a comment, and again, this is the second of the third efficiency things that have been kind of rolling around my head. Sorry. So I'm going to ask that if any aldermen, when they do give reports, if they could email. I had a conversation with Shar, the city clerk, about emailing reports ahead of time. It just makes it easier on her than having to cipher through for the minutes purposes. So it's not a requirement. It's just something will help Shar out a little bit. So if you have any reports, email them. Most of them are written out anyway, and just helps her out. So.
I have a comment on that. Library board met today at 4, and we oftentimes get done 5:30 to 6. So that is.
Yeah, if you can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, that's why I'm not going to require it, and I'm not going to check your homework. I promise. I just trying to help.
You're both teachers,
Yes.
so you can each other.
When you're able to.
Yeah.
And she didn't request it. I asked her, so I don't want to make sure like Shar was complaining or anything. So.
I'm sure providing it later on would be fine. Next item, are there any petitions?
No petitions.
The next item then is the council directive to review the grant policy and process that was brought forth by Alderman Boyette. So we're going to start that with Director Rasmussen.
I didn't do this.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a presentation in front of you on your screens, and I also have a couple handouts that just came around. So, is your mouse right here? So, again, the council directive was to review the grant and donation policy, and there's other points that I'll go through that were part of the directive. First off, the policy, that grant policy was distributed at Common Council meeting August 7th. It was also in your August 7th packet, and I believe it's in tonight's packet as well, if you didn't get a chance to fully read it. That policy was implemented in 2015, and what it was done for was to establish procedures addressing the content and the accounting and compliance responsibilities associated with each grant and donation. The current policy is somewhat difficult to understand, and there's a few inconsistencies I found, and in the flow chart, some of it didn't totally reflect what the narrative was. So I tried to just create a flow chart that was a little easier to understand with the wording of what I found in the policy. So I feel it will need to be updated soon with clarifications, but it's got a really good bones to it to work with. And on your handout and on the next page, I will go over the flow chart, which will help answer some of the questions from the directive. In addition, if we do go over updating the policy, I was also looking at the threshold. For 10 years, it's been $10,000. Nowadays, that could be a real small grant. Do we want to look at that amount going forward as well? So just some thoughts. So as I said, I did recreate a process flow chart off of reading really diligently into the policy. This flow chart helps answer questions. Some of the questions in the directive was, how much, at what dollar amount do we have to notify the committee of jurisdiction, or when do we have to go to council and so forth. So this is here to answer a lot of those questions and who has authorization to sign a contract. So I'm just going to quickly go through. If you have a grant or donation, the first thing we have to look at is what is the value of that grant or donation. If it is less than $2,500, the department head is authorized to apply for the grant, accept the award of the grant, and sign any agreement for the grant. If it's between $2,500 and $10,000, the department head is authorized to apply for the grant with mayor's approval. Once they're awarded the grant, the mayor has to approve the award with the advice of the finance director. Then the department head needs to notify their committee of jurisdiction upon award, and the mayor is authorized to sign a contract. Now, if we're looking at a grant right now over $10,000, the first flow would be, is it cash or is it a budgeted program or equipment? If it is, the department head needs to seek mayor's approval to apply and notify the finance director that they're applying. Once they are submitting application, they need to notify the Common Council of that application. And then upon award or denial, they also need to notify the Common Council. Again, the mayor is authorized to sign a contract or agreement. Lastly, if it's unbudgeted and it requires uses of city resources or additional positions and so forth, the department head would need to seek mayor's approval to apply for it and finance director input. Not sure what the difference is with that versus advice from the other one, but just it doesn't need my approval. Next, Common Council needs to go through the application before submission and approve it and authorize them to submit. Once, if an award if it's awarded, the grant is awarded, the Common Council needs to review and act upon the agreement so that they agree with what they're asking for, and then the mayor is still authorized to sign the contract. So that's how I interpreted what I had read within the policy. So then after that, a question did come up of where are the committees of jurisdiction? And what I had found was that in to go to F&P or finance and personnel, it would be legal, the clerk, excuse me, the finance department, information systems, human resources, and community development for assessor functions only. Then the other committee of jurisdiction would be the public services and safety, and that's where public works would come through community development, except for the assessor functions, parks and cemetery, and then police and fire for certain things for facilities and such. Next, I was asked to look at a couple examples of grants and then compare it how we went through the process. And one that was requested was the Meridian Barriers with the Winnebago County Spirit Fund, and that was that was applied for to assist in the purchase of a vehicle barrier system and trailers. It was for $300,000, and I included a picture of one of them there for your viewing. Also, the second example I'm using is a more standardized grant, and it's the Wisconsin Emergency Management State and Local Cybersecurity Grant. And that would be used to fund 2 security technologies that have shown to drastically improve the security posture of organizations. One would be the multi-factor authentication. I say that wrong every time. MFA. I had it right when I was practicing. Anyways, and then the managed detection and response, MDNR. It's actually can be a 4-year grant, but for year 1, we're applying at 100% that they would pay for $27,042. It includes not only the subscriptions, but some hardware as well for the first year. The year 2 would be at 80% with a 20% match. Year 3 at 70% with a 30% match. And year 4 at 60% with a 40% match. Year 2 through 4, we still need to apply, so we will still go through the normal process that I'm going to share with you. So first off, took the example of the Winnebago County Spirit Fund barriers. It was a budgeted equipment in the capital improvements plan. So then I looked on the flow chart. It was greater than $10,000. So the flow that needs to be followed is on the right. And just to give you some steps on what happened, June 20th, 2023, the police chief notified the mayor and finance director and received approval from the mayor to begin the application process. At the time that it came out on June 20th, it was for a matching grant. That did change later. The process had only a 2 weeks window to apply. Then June 27th, 2023, while working diligently on the application, there was a lot to it. There was going to be letters of reference and so forth. All of a sudden that day, Winnebago County pulled the application process. They weren't prepared for it. And I was notified in many different ways. So then in early July, we were notified that Winnebago County created a short survey to fill out to review potential projects, which is not considered an application. If you see the next slide for the direction, it gives directions given from the county describing the purpose of the survey. I also included in your handouts the survey. You can see it's 3 pages of simple questions they asked me, and I filled that in for the mayor. And then what I did is I blew up the top of that application, and it says, I boxed in green, this process is just a review of potential projects and a survey of community needs. Just keep that in mind as I go on. So then July 24th, 2023, the survey was submitted. And that's that handout. Then August 10th, 2023, it was discovered at a Spirit Fund meeting that was attended by the mayor and myself that the survey actually served as applying for the monies. We found our project on a spreadsheet and we're surprised. There was no application process that we were told was going to happen. It did not come to fruition. And there was no further discovery by the county of the project. No extra questions of what was included or no more scope to the project. So then a lot of time lapsed. We didn't hear anything for quite a while. And then January 17th, 2024, the mayor and I and the Chief Olson also and Jeff Bernice, we all went to a Spirit Fund meeting at the county building, and the barrier projects was voted on that day to our surprise and was moved forward to the county board for funding. Then March 19th, 2024, the county board did finally approve funding of those barriers after denying them at the month before meeting. So then we knew this was going to be a go. And so then March 26, 2024, we brought it before the Public Services and Safety Committee, and they approved acceptance of the county monies. April 3rd, 2024, City Council approved the acceptance of the monies. Following this flow chart, it doesn't say that we actually have to have approval to accept the monies, but we do have to notify Common Council of that. But I wanted to put it through to accept the monies. Then July 10th, Mayor Lang signed the memorandum of agreement. which in this flow chart says she has the authority to do. So that's my first example. Second example is a current grant process that we're going through, Wisconsin Emergency Management State and Local Cybersecurity Grant. It is a budgeted program in the operating budget for our IT department. And the Information Systems Director notified the mayor and myself about this potential grant and received approval from the mayor to begin the application process. Once he started the application process, he worked with the communication specialists to help assist with going for this grant and applying for it. She helped find what the process was, gather all the data, take what he wrote from his subject matter expert piece, and helped mold it into an application. From there, the Information Systems Director informed Common Council via email on 8/19 that him and I work closely to make sure he does that. Once approval or denial of that award is received, the Information Systems Director will notify Common Council with the results. If the grant is awarded, the mayor will sign the agreement or contract that may be part of the award. And again, there could be years 2 through 4, but we will go through the same process because I believe he has to do another application for that. And then I'm going to give it over to the mayor about the communication specialist position.
Thank you. As you can see from that presentation, it's pretty clear that the grant process can be quite variable from one instance to another. And these two extremes really demonstrated that well. So there was a question about the communication specialist position and how that fits in with the whole grant process and how we're utilizing that position in that regard. So in July of 2023, there was a memo to Finance and Personnel Committee with both job descriptions attached, what the administrative assistant to the mayor was, and how we were asking to change that job description to be communication specialist because we wanted to be creating more value to the city with focusing primarily on marketing, communication, and also the culture initiative and implementation. So upon recommendation of Carlson Detman, they had to review the position. The position was reclassified. However, that did not result in a higher salary for the incoming position. And in fact, the current communication specialist position is compensated at a lower rate than the previous administrative assistant to the mayor. So in the job description for administrative assistant, it was interesting for me to be reminded of this. The administrative assistant position provides background research on citywide grant opportunities. So we already had that as something that was included with administrative assistant to the mayor. And in the new position, it states researches and facilitates grant opportunities within the city to assist with ongoing projects, additional resources, and the like. So we've fleshed it out a little bit, but in essence, it didn't materially change from when it was administrative assistant to when it became the communication specialist position. Both positions had grant researching as part of their job description. Again, the new job description for communication specialist also included more specifically a focus on marketing, communication, but sorry, also on the use of the communication specialist as the point person for the culture initiative and implementation, which we were right in the midst of. And what was really becoming apparent to me is to continue this in an ongoing manner and make sure that we're focusing on positive culture at the city, we needed to have one person who would be the point person for that process. So that got included in the communication specialist position as well. So in answer to other questions relative to that, in 2024, our communication specialist has assisted with 4 different grant applications, including that cybersecurity one that we've already mentioned. 3 of the other grant applications did not proceed past the initial stages of investigation, as they were pretty long shots for us, but she did assist with that as well. I think we kind of have talked a little bit about what grant application process is like, and demonstrated it with those 2 examples. But again, it's really important to emphasize that the grant process requires a project. We don't have someone out there just creating a project and then looking for a grant. It's rather the reverse. So a project is something that's brought forth by a department head, it worked on within the department, and then the communication specialist could assist with that process. But it's not really within the communication specialist's job description to be creating a project to find a grant for. So that just to clear that up a little bit. I think that pretty much covers what was asked. Like I said, the grant process varies. Oftentimes, there's a very short turnaround in time of publication of a grant to when that application deadline is. And it makes it a little bit difficult, but we work within the grant policy to make sure we're following that. As we move forward, I anticipate the communication specialist will work with whatever is brought forward more in a kind of research what's available once a project is brought to her, and then also assist with the evaluation of the writing of that project or grant process. Finally, I would just like to thank Director Rasmussen for all the time that she spent on reviewing this policy and correcting the flow chart. She's spent a lot of time on this, and it is budget season, so that was above and beyond, and I really appreciate all the time that she took. And we were able to actually do some really useful research into what this all looks like. It was 2015 when this grant policy was first adopted, and I think it's really time to rewrite this grant policy. It seems to me that it is not easily understood by staff or council members, and I think this would be a great undertaking for a committee of our department heads to look at, as well as the communication specialist, as she would be involved in that process going forward. So I would like to have that be the step that we take next, probably not immediately, but I would like to be focusing on that in the months to come, looking at this grant policy again to make sure that it's correctly understood and approved by all of us. So that concludes our report. Alderman Boyette.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to thank Director Rasmussen. I really appreciate you spending time with me, going over everything prior to this wonderful presentation, a lot of information. I agree with what the mayor said and what you had said earlier, that definitely there's some outdated things in here, especially the dollar amounts. I'm sure those are a little archaic at this point, but yeah, I would tend to agree that this is a great way to segue into updating and adding to this. So I appreciate you and your time and your efforts on this. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Alderman Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have two comments. I found on the League of Wisconsin Municipality website, they have a new service called Grant Finder. So that might be something that would be helpful to check that out for whoever is researching grants. And they have a lot of information and on how to go after grants on the League of Wisconsin Municipality website. The other thing I'd like to mention for our communications specialist, I think we could do a better job of putting information on the display board outside of City Hall, highlighting events that are going on in the city, especially if people are waiting for somebody in their car or not necessarily driving by, but a lot of times you see that somebody runs in and they're sitting in their car. I think we need to highlight things that are going on either at the library or downtown Neenah or wherever in the fun, whatever we have. I'm not a fan of the Pet of the Week. I think that's a waste of time. But I think we need to promote what's going on in our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
I like the turtle. The fish.
Any other comments? Seeing none, is there any unfinished business? Alderman Palmer.
Thank you, Mayor. I just was curious as the status of that other council director we had by Alderman Ellis. It went back for legal review to redo the convenience store ordinance with alcohol. So it's been a little bit. I know there's been some changes, obviously. So I was wondering where that's at. I don't know if that's an Attorney Rashid question or a Director Hayes or all of the above.
Attorney Rashid. It's a Rashid. It is scheduled for committee next week.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Boyette.
Thank you, Mayor. Last council meeting, I had asked about where the location was of the policies. How do we find them? And I wasn't specific as to who or when, so I didn't see it on the agenda, and I thought maybe I should just ask. Your quote was, we can get that for you. So now I'm asking, when can I get that, and who can I get it from?
We will have to be working on that, so thank you for your patience.
Okay. So in the meantime, is it accessible to the alderman at some fashion or form? I know in the past it was on the intranet, but we don't have that anymore because we've changed our configuration of our
SharePoint.
and I don't know if the aldermen have access to that.
Okay.
So I know we did at one point, so again, it's an IT thing and I'm clueless, but I'm just wondering, like, do we even have access at this point, or?
Okay.
I don't know.
It's a let me check and I will get back to you on that. If I have to print out each policy for you, I will do that.
Yeah, I'm hoping not. But
Yeah, me too.
I'm just curious, like, you know, because, for example, this whole grant policy, I went to Vicky because I understood that it was her jurisdiction, but yet even she had to get an employee to help her get it because she couldn't find it. I looked on the website, I couldn't find it, and then I got some help from Director Kaiser, and he had found things on the intranet and then through something else, and I was like, yeah, I don't have a clue what he's talking about. It's all foreign to me, so.
Well, I think a little bit better organization would be called for, so thank you for your input.
Okay.
Next item, if there isn't any additional unfinished business, is new business. Arrowhead Park Development Status Report, Alderman Hillstrom.
Thank you, Mayor. The Arrowhead Park Committee met to hear in-person presentations end of last week, and the selection is still ongoing.
Thank you for your report. Alderman Paulno.
Thank you, Mayor. Just curious, I had asked at the Park and Rec Commission, the Airhead Task Force, because I'm playing a little catch up on when I wasn't around when that was created. If that was I think, as I understand it, it's kind of a subcommittee of Park and Rec. When does that meet, and how would I be able to attend meetings?
Actually, the Arrowhead Task Force has completed its meeting. The Arrowhead Task Force was the group that was organized to meet with the RDG group that
Yep.
created the conceptual master plan. So they are no longer meeting.
Okay.
The group that was meeting to review the RFPs for the engineering firms is an internal group, but it was composed of 12 different individuals, staff members, but also, I mean, this is the typical process for reviewing an RFP, is to do that within a department. But in this case, I had 12 individuals reviewing. So I had 2 engineers from outside, Alderman Hillstrom, Chairman Kelly. So it was a large committee reviewing. So that is not, it's not a, you're welcome to attend, but it's not really meeting anymore either.
Okay, it was just one
That's the process for how RFPs are reviewed.
Okay. So it's not an ongoing working committee is what you're saying? It was
No,
just, okay.
no.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Borchert?
Yeah, last one. Alderman Polno and I have embarked on our statewide city council meeting. We're going to city council meetings and identifying and just finding out how the other half lives. And we were in Menasha's, and in the preparation for doing so, I noticed that most of city council meetings in our area and around our state start at 6 p.m. And I was just want to throw this out there. I'm not making a motion or anything, but maybe have a little discussion to the effect of moving our meeting to 6 for consideration of a lot of our people here at City Hall and our directors have families and like to get back to them. So some live out of town, and so they stay here and end up working more than they probably need to or should. So I'm just thinking about wondering if there would be any objection to having a 6 o'clock city council meeting for nothing more than just to, if we have to run late, we run late. And then the other thing for consideration of those that have been here all day already. Any thoughts on that of anyone? Or
Alderman Erickson.
We would have to change the library board meeting, that it meets Wednesday, the third Wednesday of the month at 4 o'clock. Sometimes those meetings go to 5:30. I mean, just so you know.
Sure. Yeah.
And then we would not be able to have any special meetings prior to the council meeting because of the fact that we would be starting so early.
Okay.
Alderman Boyett?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say about the special meetings. So that's kind of a good thing for me, though, because you know how much I just love extra meetings on council night. But yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Alderman Polno?
I would support wholeheartedly going to 6. I mean, that's when I was on Concordia, it was 6. I was at 6, Menasha's at 6, a lot of them are at 6, but I would think, you know, as we do our times for our committees at the organizational meeting, and, you know, so that, I don't know if that is where this would happen, but as I'll advocate again, this would be a good item to discuss at a rules committee to have, flesh it out, and then present it maybe to council. But I'm fully supportive of that 6 o'clock meeting, because the less special meetings, the better. Thank you.
Mayor, if I might, I'm pushing my button.
Oh, I'm sorry. Alderman Ellis.
Thank you. There's a lot of good logic to that, and I think some think time on this is a good idea. Alderman Erickson brings up a good point, Alderman Burnett did, and if we look at either at 6 or 6:30 for an adjusted time, there are a lot of little nuances that we should look at. So if we could take the next week or two, and let's share those thoughts. And as Alderman Polno said, perhaps we could send this information to our chair on rules, Alderperson Carey, and then our group can get together and kind of flesh out what we've heard from everybody. with your approval, and then we can report back something to council to look into this. Thank you.
Sounds good. Any other comments? I do want to, anything else from the group?
I'll just bring some. I don't think it's appropriate to send it to rules. We only have 3 people on the committee. I think it's a better idea to send a survey to everyone and see how everyone's schedule fits in with that time frame, and even throw in some suggestions of, 6:30 or something like that. So.
Anything else? Just want to say that I spent most of the day in Appleton with the Fox Cities Chamber of Commerce Board at the board retreat, and was able to present them with a proclamation of congratulations on their award for Best Chamber of Commerce nationally. So we're very proud of that, and I was happy to pass along the City of Neenah's congratulations to them for that outstanding award. It really was a magnificent achievement for them. Anything else? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
There's a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.
The City of Neenah is pleased to provide video recordings of City Council meetings. Neenah residents can get information about City Council meetings, City Committee meetings, meeting agendas, and other documents from the City website, www.neenahgov.org. Neenah residents can express their opinions about city issues by contacting the mayor's office, contacting their city alderman, or completing the electronic feedback form on the city website. All public portions of the meetings are recorded in entirety and are not edited.